Hello all! How's it going, everybody? Rezi RNG here, y'all's favorite orange music loving, yarn spinning cat boy. Back yet again with more music talk. How's it going, everybody? I hope y'all had a fantastic week. I had I don't know, week kind of passed by, and another one of those sort of blurs for me. I've been it's sort of been a blur between what I do regular in my day job, scripting as much as I can for the upcoming Glam Metal Deep Dive Part 2, and also just, I've been playing a lot of Yard, as I mentioned last stream. Yet another rhythm game, the fan-made Rock Band clone. I've just been having a fucking ball of a time with it. Though I have, I think I've mentioned last stream though, but I have been getting some research done with that game. I was, what was it? I was playing the entirety, basically, of Guns N' Roses' Appetite for Destruction on a plastic guitar last night, and it was an interesting way to interact with. It's an interesting way to engage with music, playing a plastic instrument. I don't think it gets sort of discussed enough, like making music as much a tactile experience as a as a listening one. And I mean, I guess there's that line between playing an actual instrument and playing a plastic one that, I don't know, that's a whole dissertation and a half to get into. But let's get into the stream proper. Kind of forgot to adjust my guest's avatar beforehand, but today's guest, I think I found them again through Blue Sky. They seem a really interesting person. They are a pie-themed VTuber. That is, I think they are actually a pie brought to like an anthropomorphic pot, rhubarb pie. their name is literally Rhubarb pie, but they're really cool. They're like a Japanese singer songwriter living in Canada. They've done a few covers. They got a pretty neat taste in music, and I'm excited to have them on. So, wouldn't you all please join me in welcoming Rhubarb Pie?
Yeah. Hi guys. Thanks for having me.
How is it going? Thank you for joining the stream.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Very excited.
So usually I like to start off these streams by, opening the floor to my guest. And in so doing, I'd like to ask them, what sort of sparked their passion for music? It's one thing to have a casual love for it, just have something you like listening to on the side, but to be a VTuber and to make covers is an entirely different thing. So like, what sort of inspired that?
Yeah, so this might be a little bit like, different, but the thing is, like, I don't really I didn't grow up listening to a lot of music, or maybe not as much as, like, a lot of people. But for me, the thing that really connects me to music is actually more the field of linguistics and narratives.
Oh, interesting.
And yeah, exactly. Like a lot of people do covers, and for me, like, I did, I was interested in, like, making covers as well, but I really wanted to add, I'm not sure if you know what I mean when I say, like, I want to add to the content space with something that's a little bit like new, different, something that actually, like, is like meaningful.
Interesting.
And right, and then that's where I landed on, wouldn't it cool, because like linguistics has always been something very like interesting to me, right? Like, and
yeah.
if I could if I could use translations or translyrics as a way to connect cultures, that'll be really cool.
Absolutely.
So that's what exactly, and that's why, like, I do I did a lot of I said I did a bunch of like translyric covers, and that's something like because I could just like do a cover, right? Just get the instrumental, sing la la la, and then like that's thing. But then that doesn't really. I didn't feel like that really added much. Like I didn't have an amazing I didn't have like a amazing voice or anything. I didn't have anything like that. But like that, just adding it. Oh, it's that song. It's a cover, but it's in Japanese. It's that song, but it's in English. Like I thought that'll make that'll be an interesting addition to the content space. So that's kind of what really got me into actually making music related content on
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah. That's interesting. So like you sort of use your music explicitly as a way to bridge like different cultures.
Exactly. Yeah, and and then that's often the underestimated challenge with translyrics, right? It's like, people like to call it localization. I'm not really a fan of like using that term here.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, like that's an underestimated like challenge with like translations, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Just knowing the specific like context in which it was written and being able to like communicate that as best you can in another language. That there's a lot of nuance that goes into that for sure.
Exactly.
Okay. So how much effort goes into doing that, so to speak, and like into translating like because you do English to JP, is that
Yeah,
right?
awesome.
How much work goes into sort of communicating like English meanings in Japanese?
Yeah, so I think like the and this goes for a lot of like things, not just like the translation work that I did, but like um the actual like main work is in the research before we even get to writing anything, right? So for example, if I'm translating a Juke or Jake song, right? Then like before I even get to like like looking at the lyrics and writing it, I'm gonna basically skim over the artist's like repertoire, like their like all like I'm gonna skim their albums first. And the reason is because like that would often give me an idea of like their mindset in approaching their songs, right? And to me that's kind of important because so a lot of people who do translations, their main objective or their main like audience is the audience, right? And
Yeah.
that's who's important in their head, right? But for me, I like to, and I know I'm in the minority here, right? But then I like to really really treasure the intentions of the original artist. Like that is
Yeah,
like a
yeah.
very big priority for me, right? So which is why like a certain lyric could mean something for me, right? But it would most likely mean something. It could very much mean something else to the original artist. I want to like really like get into their head and like really understand that,
Absolutely.
so that I can like translate in a way as if they were a native speaker of this other language, then this is how they would have written it.
Yeah. And then I imagine there's a whole thing with like dialects and slang and all that, and how you're able to like how like being able to find the right way to communicate that in Japanese, like sort of something that's always been really interesting is like sort of the cross translation between like different slangs in Japanese and different accents in the West. That's always been really fascinating.
Yeah, that is fun. Yeah, exactly.
Do you find you do like, I don't know if you've ever like translated like a country song or anything like that, but do you find there's anything like different in terms of like using more like folksy Japanese dialects there versus like more, I guess, straightforward like urban ones for like more mainstream pop, for instance? Like is there a difference there?
Yeah, absolutely. So there was like one like rap section in a song that I remember translating, and I did
Yeah.
precisely that. Like it was in the English, was in in the Korean. It was like kind of written in a kind of like I sound so old when I say this, but like a hip kind of like slangy kind of way, right? Like it
Yeah,
was just
yeah.
like the young ones would say. You know what I mean? So so that's why like I did try to reflect that in the translation. But oftentimes this is like this. So what we're talking about is like very much strictly that like that translation aspect of like the meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what often like what's often the challenge is because this is one aspect of it. It's
Right.
often the balancing of the other aspects. So for example, like the meter, the meter, the top line,
Mm-hmm.
the interplay between the vocals and the instrumentals, and then stuff
Mm-hmm.
like this all come into play when we're doing the actual uh, like translation, right?
Mm.
So for example, and this is again where like like knowing and getting into the headspace of the artist is important, right? So
Right.
for
Yeah.
example, I'm not sure if you oh no, of course, like like Yoasobi, right? Yoasobi is very
Yeah,
like
I've heard of them. Yeah.
right. So Yoasobi has some like very like um hard hitting like like head bopping kind of music with like really dark kind of
Right.
like lyrics, right? Like they're famous for like Yoru ni Kakeru is a very great example of that.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing is like if you look at the meter of the that's implied by the melody,
Mm-hmm.
it's not opposing completely, but it's very much like off the colloquial meter
Mm.
um of if that lyrics was to be spoken. And what that does, right, is by offsetting that meter. So for example, like if I was to say I like to watch TV, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah.
so you see the emphasis is like I like to watch TV, right? A TV is an
Right.
iambic
Right.
meter, right? So stuff like that. So when you like match the lyrics, if you match the lyrics colloquial meter to the melody, then it's very easy for the person to hear the lyrics, right? But on the other
Mm-hmm.
hand, what happens if you do the opposite, right? If you mismatch the meter, then what happens is that the vocal or like the linguistic aspect of the vocals kind of takes a step back and lets the instrumental take more of like the front seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is exactly what you see with Yoasobi. Some of Yoasobi's music. If you're familiar with like Millie does this like a lot. I'm not sure how intentional it is, but like Cassie does that in Millie as well.
Mm.
So it's this like this kind of interplay as well is a very much a consideration when we're doing translation. When I'm doing translations, and it's
Right.
again why like I need to get into the headspace of the artist. Know, hey, is this intentional? Was this a compromise? And if it was intentional, how can I like how can I respect their intentions?
Yeah. Wow. That I just.
Yeah.
I've never.
No, that must have been a lot. Sorry.
No. That's fine. I've never really considered like what it would be like translating a song. Like, I mean, I only have so much linguistic ability myself. Like the language I'm probably the most comfortable with other than English is Spanish, and that's just by
Oh,
virtue of
okay.
having taken like damn near 12 years of it in like school.
Ah, that's
So
cool.
I'm quite decent at like reading Spanish, maybe even like writing it somewhat. I don't know, the
Mhm.
conjugates are slipping away from me with time,
Oh
but
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's like it's like that, and also a little bit of German too. I took a bit of German
Oh
like a few
really?
years ago when I was studying abroad in like a German speaking place, and I had like a
Oh.
semester's worth of lessons. Lost a lot of it though.
Mm-mm-mm.
I was gonna say, yeah, I've never really had the experience of trying to like
Yeah.
translate a song like from another language. I'd love though, like if like someday trying to take like something from city pop, like maybe like Tatsuro Yamashita, like trying to take one of his songs and like singing that in English. I'd love to do that for my
Yeah.
channel at some point.
Oh,
Oh,
that sounds. Look, if you want, like, if you like, if you want to try doing the translations, then like, want to just hit me up just for like, to bounce ideas off, and like that'll be really fun. I'd love to like, be with you for that process
oh
if you're.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
absolutely, yeah. No, I love like city pop and that sort of music. It's a damn shame that it never really crossed over into the West during its heyday.
Oh,
But I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know if it ever could have, but given the tensions at the time,
sure. Wait,
uh,
I have a question. So, like, you said you know Spanish and German, right? What's
yeah,
the?
yeah.
Do you know what I mean when I say like information density? So,
Hmm,
like, if I was to say like hello, right? In English, like the word hello is like two syllables, right?
Yeah.
While in Japanese, like it becomes konnichiwa. That's like a gazillion more, right?
Yeah.
So like Japanese often has a lower information density phonetically speaking than English, right? How about like Spanish in like if you were to like in general when you're like speaking something, saying something in English versus
Yeah.
speaking it in Spanish or German, which feels more concise to you?
Uh,
Are they
I don't
about the
know.
same?
Probably, I don't know. Just what from memory, I feel like German's the more like. There's a lot more stops in German. It feels like there's a lot more punctual, if that makes sense. By the way, hi Alex. Welcome to the stream. Yeah,
Hello, Alex. Hello, Alex. Bad boy reporting.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I guess just yeah, I don't know. I would say that there's a lot more. Spanish is a lot more of a flowery, flowy sort of language, whereas German is a lot more, I don't know. It's it's based on like the Germanic languages, same that English is based on.
Right.
It feels like there's a lot less flowery stuff.
Sure.
Inherently.
Yeah. Interesting. The reason why I ask is because that's like that's another like aspect of the challenge.
Yeah.
When it comes to translating, is because Japanese has a significantly lower information density than English. Oftentimes, if I'm translating an English song into Japanese, that means that like if I want to maintain that same melody or top line, I'm going to have to compromise on some of the meanings.
Oh,
right?
yeah, like crunch a few words together, that sort of thing.
Either that or so for example, if like if the English line was something like fuck, I don't know, like I can't bear this pain and agony, right? But then what I'll have to do is like, okay, that's like like itami to kutsu is like pain and agony, but that's like too much. So but then pain and agony, the meanings are like close enough. I'm just gonna have to like make that just one word and say kono itami, right? Just make it just pain. So stuff like that. Like there's oftentimes a lot of like compromises I have to make going from English to Japanese, which I don't necessarily have as much of when I'm going from Japanese to English.
Yeah. I will say this about like Spanish music. I've noticed, like, having listened to a few Spanish songs in the past, like Spanish lyrics and poetry tends to sort of fuse a lot of like how to say like if it's something like it. Sorry, words are failing me right now.
No, I
like
get you.
They tend to combine a bunch of syllables together, so it's like like you're saying like more than one at the same time. It's like trying to condense. That's what your condensation comment kind of reminded me of.
I get you. Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. This also like kind of depends on the artist as well, because sometimes you'll hear them like singing in that original like language, but with a lot of enunciation. In which case, like sometimes I am tempted, especially if I'm translating to Japanese, to sort of like do exactly what you're saying, right? Like so, for example, if the line was kurakatta sono yoru, instead of saying kurakatta sono yoru, I'll say kurakatta sono yoru.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? But like if I hear
sort of thing.
exactly, but if I hear that the original artist is like enunciating that part like very like clearly, then I'd be like, maybe this part is kind of important for them, like meaning wise, right? Maybe I don't even get it, but like for them, this is a very important line for them.
Yeah.
So I'll be like, you know what, I'm gonna respect that, and instead of doing that, I'm gonna do my best, like in terms of like making the translation more concise too, so that it matches the melody.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's another interesting part to think about.
So I guess to what I was wondering, have you considered doing covers from the other end, like taking Japanese songs and converting them into English?
Have I not? Wait, let me think about it, because I know that I've done a lot of like English songs into Japanese.
I don't know. I was snooping around on your YouTube channel. I think I feel like I've seen you only do like English to Japanese.
Uh, yeah. Now that you think, the thing is, I'm doing a lot of translations for other people as well, which is like in
Yeah.
that case I do it both ways.
Oh, that's
Um,
yeah.
yeah. So that's why, like, it just when you said like, "Hey, are you gonna consider doing it the other way?" I'm like, "No, I do it." No, wait a minute, I don't. It's like, um, yeah. Okay. One thing is though, a lot of people, because of how, especially amongst like the VTuber Taite community, the Japanese media is pretty popular. There are a
Yeah.
lot of people who are pretty quick at like releasing English versions.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the I think like the other way around, like English to Japanese is like less common.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Um,
I feel like
yeah.
there's so much copyright that goes on with Japanese music that it's sort of hard to really know, where you stand in terms of like being able to upload a song on YouTube and have it be okay.
Yeah, I feel that. Although like I don't really care much of it because it's like my thing isn't monetized at all.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I
but
mean, same.
right, yeah. Yeah. But this just reminds me how like there are some. I'm not gonna name names, but there are some channels where like where the translations, um, can seem sloppy.
Yeah,
And it is something that infuriates me quite to no end
yeah.
sometimes because like okay, sometimes like translations can like I would disagree with the translation,
Hmm.
or like the decisions that they make, but
Yeah.
I see the thinking behind it, right? And then like I'll be like, look, that's not how I would have done it, but I see what you do. I see what you're going for there, right?
There's definitely a tendency for VTuber singers to default on like more utilitarian lyrics, essentially, right? Stuff that
There's
you
that.
stuff that you get from Google Translate, but spruced up to fit the meter.
Yeah, so there is that. And then sometimes, sometimes it's like a matter of like not, enough research being done.
Yeah.
Um, uh, or like maybe sometimes something that like really like disregards the original artist's intentions, uh, or like stuff like that. So like there's like countless reasons why I could like disagree
Hmm.
with a translation, but like
Yeah.
but then the ones that actually like annoy me or like infuriate me are translations where like it was obviously done in a you know when there would have been like 5 other ways they could have translated that line, but they
Oh
chose
yeah.
just like obviously come from Google Translate shit and fitted it. When there would have been a better one that would have matched the meter better, there would have been a one that would have matched like the cultural context better. There would have been one, that matched the meter better. Like, and there's like you had 5 other options, and you went with this. How this is I do my best to give you like all benefit of doubt, but regardless, that was sloppy. Like that's when it actually annoys me, and I see that sometimes recently. Uh,
Yeah.
and that can be a little bit infuriating. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately we don't all have the skills or the financial means to hire an actual a translator like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, so that's okay. That's actually one of the many reasons why I actually do translations for free for people.
Oh yeah.
I refuse I refuse payment, and like when people insist, I ask them to give that money that you would have given to charity instead. Like
Mm.
like that's why so I do it for free. So like they could just come to me, you know what I mean? Like and I would I would spend like the night and like get it out done for them within like say 48 hours, like
Oh hell yeah.
I'll I'll do it for them. It's just like but it's that sloppiness, and I think one of the
Yeah.
reasons why is because like for me music is music, songs, poetry, these are almost like containers of narratives that it's a piece of a soul of like an artist.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? And for
Absolutely.
me, rushing and I talked to a friend about this a while ago as well, but rushing out a translation so you can be the first one,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
In a way that uh that disrespects, that doesn't revere that piece of art that is made by a different artist. Like to
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
that's what's so how it's like how dare you? You know,
Mm.
like that's what I'm so sorry for getting like angry in the middle of the thing.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
I appreciate your passion.
yeah.
I definitely hear where you're coming from. Like,
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
totally. Respect should be given to the original artist and their
Exactly.
intent for sure.
Exactly.
Uh, so how to say? So you have done, multiple covers on your channel. Which has been your favorite so far? Would you say?
Oh, okay. So we're talking just covers, right? Not originals.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
out of the covers, okay. So the one that I think like did well, and I see why it did well was like, and I'm happy with was like "Die for You."
Yeah.
Um, it was I think my translation was solid. The vocal it's a Joji song, so like
Yeah.
my vocal timbre matches it. So I see how it did well, right? It's good.
Mm-hmm.
The cover that I am proud of in terms of like the translation, and I think is like kind of like I wish it did better, like underrated, but I really like it, and like I wish more people saw it, was my Golden Hour cover.
Mm-hmm.
Because that translation was challenging, and I made decisions that I think a lot like other people would not have made,
Mm-hmm.
if because they wouldn't have done that research. So I'm
Mm.
kind of proud of like the about the depth of the translation that I did for Golden Hour.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
That's unfortunate. Hopefully that'll be appreciated more
Yeah.
in time.
Maybe. Yeah.
Let's see, do
So-
you?
Hmm?
Sorry.
Oh no. Yeah. What's up? What's the next?
Do you have any plans to release more covers in the future, or even originals on like streaming, or?
Yeah, I might. I have okay. I do have one song that I have in mind that I do. Um, oh, this is also English to Japanese.
Mhm.
But I have the translation for it done,
Oh yeah.
and I'm looking to hopefully like record and do all that this year.
Oh, nice,
Um,
nice.
yeah. So I do have that one coming. I have other people's like songs,
Mhm.
in the process. So those will be coming up, not on my channel, but
Oh
like
yeah.
yeah.
So I was,
Um,
yeah, that was, I was about to, say, I was noticing on your channel, it's been a while since you last uploaded something there yourself. Have you been like helping others with their stuff?
exactly. Yeah. It's mostly with other people's original songs. So a lot of people like want to write original songs, but want to write in Japanese because
Right.
Japanese. So like I like to I do help with that.
Mm-hmm.
So and that's been really like there's something really like awesome about that process because like when I'm doing translations, I'm doing the research and trying my best to like read the intentions of like
Right.
the original artist. When I'm doing a translation for somebody, I can literally talk to them, right? And like talk, discuss with them like what are your thoughts, like what are you thinking about here, and stuff like that, and like what do you want to say here, like and all that
Mm-hmm.
stuff, right? And what are the songs you like? I can talk about them about so much, and I have like first hand access to
Yeah,
that
yeah.
as I write their like write their lyrics or write their translations. So that's why it's a really like awesome like process, and I've been really enjoying that. So hopefully
That's
like when they come up,
that's
check them
really
out.
interesting. I wonder if that's how they do that in the industry. Like send a translator over to like an artist and have them spend a day with them or whatever.
Wouldn't that be amazing? That's definitely not how it happens, but like it's definitely not. It's just too time like it's too like cost ineffective.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, it's just imagine though, like just let me see, like Jacob Collier hanging out with a translator, going to Disneyland, and be like, so how's your relationship with your father? Like, just talking about that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I guess
that'd be amazing.
yeah, you need to. it's it's interesting though. So what was I gonna say? I guess of all the collabs you've had to date, which has been the most fun for you?
So collab, as in like in terms of like working with someone to make music.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like, you've been talking about working with others.
Yeah. So right now I'm in a chorus battle group.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and this team is amazing. Um, it's like there's so much like talent, effort, like hard work that they're putting in. It's like I'm just mesmerized by their by their abilities, and it's a really amazing team
I
that I'm
can't say
getting
I've
to work.
heard of Chorus Battle. What is that?
Yeah, so a chorus battle is sort of like I say competition slash tournament in like 3 quotation marks.
Sure.
But like basically what happens is like a theme is provided and like groups including usually a few vocalists,
Mhm.
an artist or two, a video editor,
Mhm.
stuff like maybe even a composer if it's an original, and it's like they create a team to make music videos together, uh,
Okay.
in following that theme or whatever. And then
Mm.
every round, so at least in the one that I'm in, it's called the Kawakari chorus battle.
Mhm.
But in that one, what happens like every round, like the theme is given, and then like the top, uh, however many people like groups, just pass to the next round, until I guess like it goes to one person. I don't know, but it's basically 3 rounds of that. Um,
Mhm.
so we will be making 3 pieces of like music, videos together. So
Wow.
yeah.
That's really cool. That's
Yeah.
I assume you've made a lot of friends doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just with like my teammates. So like my team is like maybe like some 10 to 20 people. Um but not just that, but like the other man, like some of the other groups are like I'm a big fan of some of the other groups.
Oh
There's a
yeah,
few
yeah.
groups that made like original songs as well. Like so
Mm.
we're going all the original songs.
Right,
And
right.
some other groups are doing that as well. And man, they those are some like really great stuff. There's some really great stuff going on there.
Mhm.
And I've gotten to connect with these like other quote unquote competitors, I guess you could call them, but like they're just singers, people in the space, and it's
Right,
been
right.
really amazing. Yeah.
Have you written a lot of Ori songs? Like I don't know if you've posted I haven't not, I don't know if I was looking too hard, granted, but I don't know if I saw any originals on your channel.
Yeah, so I think let me see. So there's 4 that I have at least listed here. I don't know where the
Okay.
others went. So on my YouTube, I have these 4 like main original songs. On my
Mm.
Blue Sky, I haven't been doing any recently, but like every
Okay.
week I do like a writing challenge.
Yeah, yeah, I've
And
noticed
then
that.
earlier on, what I did was that for each one, I wrote like a short song which like fit within the 1 minute limit of Blue Sky.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that was fun.
So
That's
you've
something I
have you
did.
done stuff like singing March or whatever in the past?
I've tried. I've tried. It's pretty hard to like fully fully post for every day. So
Yeah, yeah.
I have tried.
No,
Although at that time I was more on Twitter. Yeah.
I absolutely understand that struggle. You know, I've never attempted myself, but I know a very good friend of mine, Noriboshi Ariel. She always attempts that and always
Yeah,
tries to, handcraft her own songs, and it's like a very intensive work, intensive
yeah.
process for her. But
Yeah, for sure.
God bless her for sticking with it. I could never.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So like,
It's a lot of fun though.
yeah, no, I absolutely, I would understand. Like, I'm sure, like, you know, whenever I see stuff like that, it reminds me of those old like challenges, but related to talking about like your musical tastes every day, like favorite album you listen to, like that sort of album a day sort of posting.
Sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um, um,
So yeah, I do have like that a weekly writing challenge. So now I'm mostly just doing like writing for this one.
yeah, yeah.
There's also like people who do prompts like daily prompts. Like there's one like daily haiku prompts that I've been kind of
Mm-hmm.
enjoying doing. So like writing a
Yeah,
haiku every day. See, like that's like I think that's one of the draws of like haiku is that it's short form,
yeah.
so it's much more like accessible to do every day. Well, making a
Absolutely.
song a week is like it's doable, but it's not easy. So
Yeah, no, for sure. So like, do you like doing this because it helps you to sort of hone your skills for writing songs, or
Mhm,
is
mhm.
it just like I don't know, is it just idle writing exercise?
Yeah, like I think a big part of it is that it's like, I want to keep the engine like, running.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
right. Um, it's also great because like at least like with my prompts, I write the prompt in a way that hopefully will um engage people in a way
Yeah.
that their brains don't always like engage in. So for example,
Mm-hmm.
like one of my recent like writing challenges was that like we're like undeniably visual creatures, but
Right.
let's try writing something that focuses on one of the five senses other than sight,
Mm.
right? So then like because we're so like used to writing songs with like visual imagery, right? Like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
your golden hair, all that whatever, right? um so like that makes people go like, oh, wait a minute, huh? And like kind of think in ways that they usually aren't used to thinking about things
Yeah,
in.
yeah.
So stuff like that, like I kind of like enjoy that kind of like mental like let's push you a step outside of your comfort zone kind of thing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's one of the reasons why as well. Like I want to like open up that box a little bit.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It just reminds me, like I for years now, like damn near a decade at this point. I think beyond a
Uh-huh.
decade, I've been keeping this journal. It started as
Oh,
like an
nice.
exercise in college, right? I
Uh-huh.
was in this like my freshman seminar in college or whatever. We had like a we had to like keep a journal. And
Mm.
our professor explained it. You sit down 20 minutes every day. Sort of just writing free form. You hone your own voice that way. And
Mhm.
I've been trying to keep in touch with that ever since. I've
Mhm.
kept like it's damn near like I think it's close to like over 20 journals or something at this
Oh,
point, like all in a
wow.
series. Yeah, I've been trying to like just keep writing, keep updating on my life. And
Uh-huh.
I don't know. It it helps me maintain my sort of voice, I think.
Mhm, mhm. Oh, that's amazing. Like I wish I had the diligence to do that.
Oh no,
um
trust me, it is really hard to like
yeah.
keep consistent with it, especially recently. I don't know, like well, I find being an adult and being in the working world and like,
Uh-huh.
having a consistent schedule coming home and all that stuff. It's like
Yeah.
it's hard to really find the energy or motivation to pick up the pen, night to night,
Mm,
because
for
like
sure.
some days are just the same as the one before,
Yeah, exactly. What kind of stuff do you write? Like, like, can you give me like examples, like what
It's
sort of
like
stuff you?
I don't know, like I try to reflect on recent events in my own eyes. I try to
Mm.
like I don't know, reflect on my hobbies. Been
Mm-mm-mm.
been reflecting a lot recently, when I can on my on my recent pivot back towards rhythm games. I've been I don't know if you were
Ah.
listening in earlier, but I'm playing a lot of the fan made rock band clone Yarg. That's
Uh-huh.
been a lot of fun. Also, I don't know. I've just been trying to keep myself accountable in those
Mhm.
journals with doing more work for my deep dives too. Always
Mm.
trying to kick my ass and remind me to try to get something done. If not, the night I'm writing, like definitely tomorrow, that sort of thing.
Gotcha. That's really cool. Do you think it helps develop your introspection, your ability to
I
introspect?
I would like to think so. I'd like
Mm.
to think that I'm a lot more nuanced and open to alternate perspectives on
Mhm.
on what I'm going through and all that stuff. I'd like to
Mm.
think that I'm a lot more I have less of an ego to me because I keep a journal. I don't know. It
Mm-mm-mm-mm.
sounds ridiculous to say it out loud like that, but like I don't know. I try to be a lot more cognizant, a lot more reflective.
Mm-mm. No, I think that's great, and like I could imagine that it'll help you be more used to formulating your thoughts and being conscious about your thoughts, your own
Yeah,
thoughts,
yeah.
right? Yeah. You know what? More people needs to do that actually. Like, you know, like we all need to do that.
It really
It's
does
just,
help with writing, honestly, especially for, the class I was in that, taught me about keeping journals and all of that.
uh-huh.
It was actually for like writing memoirs, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I think the big projects with that, we had to write like some sort of memoir for the final, I guess, project, essentially. And, I think it helped, writing those journals helped me piece together what exactly I wanted to write about there. So it was helpful in that regard, but it's also been really helpful for like brainstorming my own ideas for, my own projects on my channel, right? Like
For sure.
I've been keeping, how to say, I don't know if you've been poking around my channel too, but I do these, long form deep dives into
Mhm.
rock music history, and
Yeah.
I do my own original analysis too of like songs and like various historical points. I try to use my journals sometimes as like a space for me to just sort of muse on like all the research I'm doing, because I absorb a lot of fucking articles, a lot of newspaper articles, a lot of magazine articles from back in the day, a lot of stuff online. It's like a lot of stuff that to synthesize and to have like a space where I can sit down and hash that out. It really does help.
Mhm. Oh no, for sure. That sounds like really great.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like have you seen like in like I think we mentioned like I mentioned it briefly earlier, but like Adam Neely also does like this kind of like that kind of
Oh yeah.
analysis, right? Like I think, are you also a fan or?
Oh yeah, I've seen Adam Neely's stuff from time to time.
Yeah. I love those kind of like deep dives and like looking into the history, looking into like, because like history is a form of context, right, for something, right?
It
like
is.
good.
How to say? It's fascinating, right? I'm when I went to Cat College, I double majored in music and history, and it really is fascinating, like seeing like music history is fascinating to me because you can take like an album, a song, even just like a verse, right? And you're able to dig into all these rich layers of context because it really does reflect like what the context in which it was made, the people that wrote it. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, I love that so much for that.
Now, if I've never been one for like the academy, how to say, but if I had to be like an accredited historian, I would say probably my field would be music history,
Sure.
What was it? So when we were talking before the stream, you sent me a list of some of your favorite artists and bands and all that. You listed a number of jazz singers as some of your favorite artists. Do you have a spot? Do you have a soft spot in your heart for the genre?
I think
jazz,
so.
Easy listening, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the things is that a lot of the more modern era songs, the tempo can be a little bit high, too high for me to like really like savor the lyrics.
Yeah,
while
very,
with like
very
in
high
that
energy stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And like it's just like it oftentimes, not always obviously, like there's like beautiful ballads,
Right,
these
right.
days, right? But like the trend feels that like a lot of the lyrics don't get the space to breathe.
Right, it's more about the beat and the vibe.
Often, yeah, a little bit too oftentimes, yeah, exactly. But in the time era of like those like jazz singers, the lyrics often got a lot of breathing space. And like in Japanese, we have a word for it called ma, which is like, I mentioned I can like write it. Ma, like we have this character, which means that it means space, but it means space or emptiness, but it's like there's like a meaningful emptiness, right?
Right.
So one thing you might like notice is like you'll hear like uh, you hear there'll be like a bar with like lyrics and like a bar without, a bar with lyrics, a bar without, right? So, and then that like space gives um the audience time to really like savor, like really like they take your time and savor, like chew and savor the lyric a little bit,
Yeah.
you know? And
No,
I
that
just love
yeah.
that.
That really reminds me, I used to do big band when I was in cat college, and
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I mean I was a drummer primarily, but I always
Nice.
loved like whenever all the different singers that we had cycling through, and it always fascinated me hearing like our conductor give advice to them, because it was he was drawing upon like the list of singers that he performed with, and he always used to say, make sure to like give space and like think consciously about like where you come in and all that, because like that sort of stuff does like it lends your own unique energy to it, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Also, like, so I'll say like jazz. So like when I say like, when you talk to people these days about like jazz singers, like one of the people who would often come up like first, if any,
Yeah.
would be Frank Sinatra, right? Right. And then you say like, oh, like what kind of stuff? Oh, like Fly Me to the Moon. Right. So the reason why I have Tony Bennett and not fucking Sinatra, not Sinatra, is because like a lot of like the jazz songs that are like standards today,
Yeah.
when the songs were written, they had an intro, like they had intro verses, and oftentimes these intro verses get like yeeted out of the like fucking defenestrated,
Yeah.
just so that you can go immediately into like that that hook,
Yeah,
right? That's like
yeah.
more popular, and like it's just so infuriating to me as well, because it's sort of like the similar reason why like I would be angry at people who write sloppy translations. Like at that time they wanted to make these records that sold, because and like had it went right into the part that everyone knows and is like catches people's attention.
Yeah,
But then
yeah.
a lot of times that that intro verse that they would yeet out the window had like a lot of like narrative context that was really important to
Yeah.
the song, that they just like that they just throw away. And I'm like, how dare you? Well, how can you do that to the song?
Well, it's interesting, a lot of popular music originated from the theater, right? Like a lot of standards back in the day were like theater music, like taking like going from the recitative of before, sort of laying out the context of the musical into those like gorgeous popular songs. And I think like speaking from my own perspective, like I used to do a lot of jazz improv too, like those standards, yeah, I mean, it does definitely suck losing that intro bit, but at the same time, having those more economical songs allows the form to really sing through, especially when you got like solo after solo running through of all these different jazz musicians.
I know. Oh, I know, but come on, it's like
Yeah.
okay, okay, I'll give you one example, right? Because like so are you familiar with like Cry Me a River?
I think so, yeah.
Like, right now you say you're sorry for being so untrue. Well, you can cry me a river, because I cried a river over you, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of people like know it from that part, right? So that's why they think of it as like what would you imagine this song to be about? Like heartbreak with like a lover who was unfaithful, right?
Yeah.
Right? No, this song is actually about a daughter singing to her father. But like because you lose that like intro, you've lost that like narrative concept. Now everyone takes it like in this like whole like you unfaithful fucking bastard kind of song. Like no, this is about a heartbroken daughter. Then like how could you do that to it, right? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's one example. And then others like another very like well-known example is Fly Me to the Moon, right?
Right.
It seems like just like a fun like romance song, right? Like, Fly me to the moon, right?
Yeah.
So Tony Bennett's version, you can find it on YouTube, like has the original intro, and basically this song is a song around mansplaining. You know, it's it's this guy like kind of like fumbling to try and explain it. Like, look, I'm gonna try my best to like explain it. It's like mansplaining, but it's like in a cute way. But like there's that, it's like there's this like cute like
There's a lot more charm
dumb
to
guy kind of
it.
thing. Yeah, exactly. There's this like dumb guy energy that in there that's like lost because you don't have that intro, right? So and then this
Yeah.
like narrative, like to me, is like the soul of the song, you know, and like to desecrate it, how dare you, you know, like that's how it feels to me. Although like obviously I understand like the economics of it and like, you know, making it
Yeah,
I
yeah.
understand, but like let me have this like anger just like smoldering in me, you know, like how
That
dare
that
you do that
wouldn't
to the
that would
song.
that wouldn't fit in the Evangelion,
Oh,
ED.
imagine if the Evangelion like had like the Tony Bennett version. Oh man.
Oh my gosh.
uh,
uh, yeah. You also like postmodern jukebox. I saw.
yeah.
Like, where did that stem from? I remember liking postmodern jukebox back in the day myself. I had a friend that was quite into them and used to show me their videos.
Yeah. It's so because like a lot of the songs that they sing were like classics and like really like hits at a specific time, right?
Right.
So like we would know the song, but it's like not like it's not on the radio today, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like when they it's kind of similar to the reason why I would like translate a cover, right? Instead of just seeing the
Yeah.
cover. It's like they put that song in like this old, like, you know, this older like era context that it could never have existed in, but like
Right.
it just it's so new, right? And it
Mhm.
breathes a new life into the song. And it's just like amazing, you know.
Yeah.
One of my favorite ones by Postmodern Jukebox is that one. It's Crazy. With like Casey Abrams, and it's like it has this like space, like space kind of like, you know, vibe to it, which is like really cool, and it's so creative, and I just love their work.
Yeah, I love like the stuff that he did for BioShock. I mean, didn't he do that God Only Knows a cappella arrangement? That was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like I love when people have the, you know, musical knowledge and foresight to be able to arrange a song into a completely different genre. That always tickles my fancy.
Right, exactly. It's so amazing.
Are you familiar at all with Richard Cheese?
Richard Cheese? I don't think so. Wait,
He does that sort of stuff too. It's incredible.
Oh yeah.
If you ever need a laugh, look up his cover of Snoop Dogg's Gin and Juice.
Oh, okay. I definitely check it out.
Yeah, no, it's some good stuff. I love when people take like music and make it into lounge music.
Yeah. Exactly. And like, you know, I think like so Postmodern Jukebox is like has like a lot of like, I'm guessing like a very flexible group of members.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you know, they feature a lot of people, and you know, there's like some, you know, vocalists, some like, you know, instrumentalists in like Postmodern Jukebox videos that like I never would have like found,
Right.
you know, if it wasn't for
yeah.
them. And one of them being like Casey Abrams, right? Like the guy who does the bass. And his voice is so unique, and I just love like the grit in his voice. It's just so like, oh, just like tugs my heart, you know, like
I love collectives like that being able to expose, you know, millions of people to musicians they would have never heard of otherwise. Like that's a great thing about like, I guess, YouTube and music and all that stuff. There's a lot more of an opportunity for, you know, people who never would have, or at least didn't have a shot, you know, getting in traditionally. It gives them that, you know, even playing ground.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, just a for fun question, right? Then,
okay, yeah.
If you could like a Make-A-Wish Foundation kind of situation, if you could have like do one music collab with like anyone that you want, right? Like, you know, in currently like existing, like who or what group would be like the dream?
King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, probably.
Awesome.
Are you familiar with them?
I'm not. Let me just
They are an Australian psychedelic rock band that have dabbled in all sorts of genres. They've done metal, they've done electronic music, they've done,
Ah.
jam band sort of stuff, they've done acoustic, folksy stuff,
Uh-huh.
wide variety. It was such a wide. I'm sorry if you're hearing that, by the way. There's a shit
Yeah,
ton
yeah.
of alarms outside.
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, no, they're a fantastic band. I highly
Mhm.
recommend them, and they're especially cool live. They like to jam out a lot of their
Mhm.
songs, night to night, and they also
Yeah.
switch up their set lists. So like you never you're never going to get the same thing twice.
Ah, that's nice.
Yeah.
You mentioned like a lot of like different genres there, and like that's something that's like been on my mind that like genres as a whole has gotten like much more like fluid, like
Yeah.
less, right? And I think like that's like such a cool like thing about like the evolution of music, right?
We live in a time of mixing, I think.
Mhm.
We live in a time of collage, of taking things that was previously disparate and combining them together. And I think
Exactly.
that is the future of like a bunch of genres, but especially rock music. I have it on. I have a particular soapbox that I could probably sit down and make a video of someday. That I think
Mhm.
that there's too much of an obsession in certain rock journalism of there needing to be like a savior of rock. Like it's been like a press thing for like however many years. The Strokes,
Mhm.
the Arctic Monkeys, Royal Blood, Greta Van Fleet. These are bands that are they're playing traditional rock music again with loud, heavy guitars. They're
Yes.
saving rock music. They're bringing back garage rock. They're bringing back Led Zeppelin. But there's only so much you can get from just doing straight revivalism, right?
Mhm.
And I do respect all of those artists to some degree or another. Greta Van Fleet, it's a bit harder, but I I I don't know. I think that there's definitely room, for bands and artists that bring back old sounds and write a lot of old sounding rock songs and stuff like that. But they have to put their own spin on it. They have to be
Mhm.
willing to, draw from their own wealth of influences other than just, classic rock,
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah.
And that's what I really love about King Gizzard. They're basically like they're basically my generation's rock bands.
Mhm.
I mean, sounds kind of stupid to say when there's so many other rock bands out there nowadays, but
Mhm.
it's like something that I can distinctly be proud of following.
Mhm. I'm wondering if part of that is so like I think your with your background in like music history, maybe you can like resonate with this, but I'm wondering if part of it is sort of about the intention, right? It's just like because like when people approach this as like as you said, like revitalism,
Yeah,
right, with just the intention, hey, I want this old thing back, just with
yeah,
no context whatsoever. It sort of feels like very isolated, while on the other
yeah,
hand, what's actually happening often is that people artists are drawing on past, almost like palettes, right? Palettes of past musical genres,
right,
to as just part of the process of creating something new. And then that new thing is going to be a part of our modern history, of modern music history. But then just because it's drawing from these parts, it's going to, as a byproduct of this creation process, quote unquote revitalize whatever genre or field it is,
exactly.
right?
It,
Yeah,
it
yeah.
it really does. It ties like the past to the present in a really tangible way, while also leaving like the door open for future evolution.
Mhm.
I like a band that King Gizzard gets compared to a lot is the Grateful Dead, right?
Mhm.
The Grateful Dead, they toured a shit ton of places in the United States. I think they also did a few tours in like Europe, Canada, and
Mhm.
whatnot. But they were primarily an American phenomenon. right?
Mhm.
They they kind of like King Gizzard. They did a whole bunch of genres. They varied up their set lists from night to night. They did a whole bunch of jamming,
Mhm.
and there was a whole culture that formed around it. Like
Mm.
there were people that would follow the Dead on tour. They would set up outside of their concerts with all these merch booths and like all this handmade bootleg merch. We called Shakedown Street because
Mhm.
they'd be constantly hassling people for their money and stuff for these trinkets.
Yeah.
Um, but it was just like this whole culture that sprung up around this band that was so passionate about like playing music and just getting out there and
Mhm.
being on the road. And like my own parents, actually, they were Deadheads. They were super
Uh-huh.
into that culture. So like when I say like I finally have like my own rock band, I think that's really what I'm getting at, is that I have that experience too in the present day. I
Mhm.
mean, there are jam bands here and there already, like
Mhm.
I think, no, not Geese. I think it's Goose who's the jam band. Geese is another band. Um,
Mhm.
there's Goose, there's fucking Fish, of course, Humphreys McGee, Widespread Panic, like all the jam bands on the jam circuit, and
Yeah, there's a whole
they're
animal kingdom of jam.
yeah,
Jam.
yeah, they're and that's all well and good, right? But
Uh-huh.
that's a whole other scene and a half that I'm just not able to get into. King
Mhm.
Gizzard, on the other hand, I feel like they play a lot of songs, and that's really like the bounce, especially on recent tours. They've been really getting good at bouncing out like songs with extended jammy portions, and so that's been really
Mm.
fun going to a King Gizzard show. I've already got my tickets for this year's.
Oh, okay, okay. Good. Good. Nice, nice.
Yeah, yeah. Ah,
I think that like jamming is like kind of underrated in the sense that it's a very uh, spontaneous uh,
mm,
uh, expression of music's ability to uh, house communication. Because
absolutely.
it's in that moment, like these people jamming. They're okay. Maybe sometimes they talk something, but like a lot of that communication is done, through that music, and you can see them like meeting eye to eye and like laughing about like bringing like a meme in or whatever, right? And like it's just like this spontaneous communication. In that moment, there's something like, really magical about it, and oftentimes I'm not sure if people really like appreciate that anymore.
Uh, I would say only half of being a musician is actually having the technical chops to be one. The other half is being able to communicate with other fellow musicians and truly
Yeah,
make
yeah,
something great, in my
exactly.
opinion. I mean, like, that might partly also be cope for me not having the best technical chops in the world, but I really do feel like it's an art to be able to sit down in a group of people and be able to play off of each other. Like,
Mm.
I don't know, just having come up through jazz improv and being able to really like put my ear out and listen to others and hear what they're doing and be able to alter my playing on a dime to match that. Like, it's
Mm.
it's it's really it's a really engaging experience. Like,
Exactly. Yeah.
even like not just playing it, but even like as an audience member, like being
Mhm.
like, okay, where are they going from here?
Right, right, right. Exactly. Yeah. The, the thing is, so this is like kind of it's maybe like not like directly related, but there was
Sure.
a person who said, the music makes you feel feelings, the words make you think thoughts, and like songs make you feel thoughts.
Yeah.
Right, so music is such a powerful vehicle of communication, and like
Mm-hmm.
and jamming is such a beautiful magical expression of that, right? So it's
Absolutely.
and
I
things I don't have the ability to do it. I don't have the technical knowledge either to like fully understand, but I can just like feel that tingle, that magic in
mm-hmm.
the air when they're just
Absolutely.
doing that. Yeah.
I personally think that music is the closest thing that we have to God Like legit. When I was abroad in Europe, studying abroad there, I had the opportunity for the first time to really go in those like huge, medieval churches, right?
Sure.
And like see what was going on there and like hear all the acoustics and like when you
Mhm.
go in there and there's a service going on and like you hear the organ flittering down from the heavens, from the rafters, you really do get like why for so many centuries like the Catholic Church had a chokehold on European culture. Like
Mhm.
like people that is divinity in the air right there.
Yeah, this is your stress. I'm gonna like I'm gonna like moderate what I say about the church.
Of course. I
Um,
trust me, I don't have positive feelings myself.
yeah, but I think a big part of, so it comes back to that like idea of communication, but music is very powerful in terms of conveying narratives, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of I'll just say a lot of maintaining authority is about maintaining a hold on the narrative,
Yeah.
and magic and not magic. Music has been a very big tool to that end, and
Mm-hmm.
that's all I'll say about that because I don't want it to be awkward.
No, absolutely.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah.
totally get that. It's
Uh-huh.
like music is a very powerful tool.
Uh,
Taken into the wrong hands, it can be a very scary one.
yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
uh, we're gonna. Oh, yeah. So I guess
Mhm.
you mentioned you don't really have the ability to jam. Do you play any instruments?
So I did piano and violin, but like
Mm-hmm.
violin just a tiny bit. But like
Yeah.
I haven't like played like physical piano in quite a while.
No, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
exactly.
I did violin too for a bit. I mean,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
sure my regular viewers are sick of me telling this story, but for
Mhm.
for a good few years, like in elementary school, I was kind of conscripted into like my school's early
Uh-huh.
orchestra, and
Okay, okay.
it was all well and good, but I never practiced.
Yeah, 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 yeah. No, I feel you. I feel you.
Really, my passion with music, I think that awakened when I joined like choir and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, no, I think my first real instrument wasn't until I picked up the drums, and that was largely as a
Mhm.
product of like being super into rhythm games like Rock Band. So
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I mean, it was only a hop and a jump from like playing Rock Band drums to trying out real drums.
Mhm. Oh, you okay?
Um, I'm fine. What was I gonna... So, which instruments would you learn if you had the spare time? Like, would you go back to
Oh
violin or
man,
like learn more piano?
I would want to learn the bass.
Mm.
Because hot take. I think the bass is the uh, backbone of a standard like band lineup.
For sure. No,
Eh,
actually, I would agree with that.
oh yeah, okay.
I
Wait,
mean,
okay, but why?
as much
Why though?
as mu-
Why do you think it is?
as much as I love the drums and think that they contribute very heavily to the rhythm section, you can get a lot of color out of like percussion and cymbals and all of that. Whereas in the like from my own experience doing jazz improv and big band, the bass really is the groove that locks things down.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
you can afford to have a very all over the place drum, but if your bass is all over the place, you've lost the rhythm.
Right, right, right. It comes into about the locked in. Yeah, exactly. The reason why I think the bass is the backbone is because it's the bass is the thing that ties in the the harmonic and melodic aspect of the auditory output of the band with
Mm.
the rhythm section,
Oh
because it's
yeah.
technically part of the rhythm section, but
No,
it
that makes
gives the
sense.
rhythm section the harmonic and melodic a context.
Yeah, no, that's true. You know, the bass
Yeah.
often does serve as like the roots of the melody and all that stuff, and connects it weaves itself into the rhythmic DNA of the song.
Exactly, yes. Because like if it needs to be locked in with the drums, but it needs to be locked in with like the vocals or the guitars or whatever, right? And it's like the chain that's like holding two sides together, you know. So that's why I would really want to learn the bass.
Oh yeah. Do you listen to very many bassists? Like obviously you're a jazz head. Yeah, I don't know how much you know about like Ron Carter, Jaco Pastorius, those guys.
I just see that thing. Because I didn't grow up listening to a lot of music myself. Like I
Oh,
don't have
that's
that
fair.
repertoire. Yeah, yeah. But yeah, are they like is there something notable about them?
Well, Jaco Pastorius, he's like one of the greatest. He was one of the greatest like jazz bassists basically of all time. Like he was like very big into like playing a fretless bass, sliding all
Uh-huh.
around the fretboard with that.
Oh goodness.
Ron Carter, he played with Miles Davis's second quintet, I think, and like he I think he's still alive, but he's like one of the he's old and has contributed to a lot of really great records. What else?
Mhm.
If you've never heard of Primus, I would check them out too.
For sure. Yeah, yeah.
They've got a lot of really funky, very funky bass parts. Primus sucks, and I mean that as a compliment. That's the meme.
I get you. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's very, very fun. Yeah, I love the bass. If I were to learn like any stringed instrument, it would probably be that. I've tried learning guitar like 3 times now, and it's always a challenge, like having to, sit down and learn scales and all that stuff. Like, I feel like with bass, you can still learn scales on a bass and all that and play chords and all that, but I feel like there's a lot less barrier to entry playing a bass versus playing guitar. Yeah, I don't know, like guitar, obviously you can do a lot more with it. You can play power chords, you can play chords, you can play scale. Like there's a lot more of a melodic expectation of guitar, I feel, whereas bass, like you said, it's a lot more of the backbone. It's a lot more playing like the simple rhythmic stuff.
Interesting. I never thought of it that way, but yeah, in that sense, maybe I will consider like picking up.
Yeah, like I said, I'd love to learn the guitar. It's just like so much to keep in mind all at once. And I did like at one point I knew sort of my way around scales and stuff. I used to like for a semester I took lessons in marimba, and there's this one particular memory I have because I was taking like jazz theory lessons around the same, well, not lessons, I was a class in jazz theory around the same time, and I was practicing in the marimba room all of these different modal scales. It was an interesting time. I wish that I had access to a marimba so I could learn more of that again, but oh well.
For sure. Oh, but okay, so if it wasn't the bass, right? Like the other direction that I'd want to go into would be learning either the Indian sitar or maybe the Japanese shamisen.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason is because, so when we say like for the music and classical music, right? We're talking about 18th century German
Western music.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly, right? But the thing is that, and then I think maybe you'd resonate with this as like, as a history, can I call you a history buff, right? Like,
sure, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, but like a lot of the, other cultures, musical culture has like a very like rich history behind it, and sometimes can really, give you that, give you a counterpoint or give you a foil to look back at the music that you know and question things that we take for granted. Which is sort of the similar way that like if you know foreign languages, it makes you question things about your own native language.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I would love to learn. So for example, the Indian music system, right, has like doesn't have scales, but they have ragas, right? And then that each raga has its own, like evening ragas and morning ragas and whatever, right? So it has like those connotations. There's like a very different um musical culture around there that could really like enrich my understanding,
Yeah.
my perspective of on music, right? So stuff like
No,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Indian music theory is fascinating. I
Mhm.
remember when I was in college, there was this one guest that we had. He was this sarod player, right? Like a
Huh?
Western sarod player that had given up a lot of his time to like studying the sarod with a guru in India. And it
Okay.
was fascinating getting to hear him like sort of jam on all of these different these ragas that he presented to us. Like he had one
Hmm.
of those drones going on in the background. And, oh
Yeah,
my
yeah, yeah.
god, the tambour player, like I don't know if it's tambour or what's the tabla? I think
The
that's the
tabla, yeah,
drum.
the
Yeah.
drum, yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, like they were going off on the tabla.
Hmm.
That was an incredible experience getting to
Yeah, yeah,
see
yeah.
like an Indian music concert like that up close in person. And I may have been a little zooted off catnip at the time, but
Yeah, I can.
I still could appreciate the musicality of it all.
For sure. Yeah, yeah, exactly. And the other one would have been like for me, like going in the direction of like shamisen or like
Yeah,
some
yeah.
Japanese um instrument, because it's my culture, and it'll be
Right.
a way for me to tie back to my own culture and like the musical context that comes with that, right? So for example, like
Yeah.
the Japanese music is often based on the pentatonic scale.
Mhm.
So but looking at it, in from the Japanese music's perspective, it would be super cool and be very like enriching in terms of
Yeah,
my
yeah.
musical perspective. Yeah.
You know, the shamisen's really cool instrument. I think I was telling another guest, like I really love like the rock bands coming out of Japan that,
I
you know,
Yes, yes,
they
yes.
incorporate the
Uh-huh.
shamisen into the music. I think that's really neat, getting to fuse like rock with old traditional Japanese music.
Yeah. Oh God. What? Wagaki something, right? Like.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah, yeah,
forget their
yeah.
name.
It's pretty cool.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Uh, uh,
I think the shamisen really works in that rock context specifically, especially because the sound it's very percussive,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it kind of like it really punches through, right?
Definitely, yeah.
So that's why I think why it really works well in the. Oh man, you know what? Like that, it'd be so cool to get into that. Like just like shamisen rock. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
have to wonder, like, there has to be somebody who's tried to put together like this massive like world string instrument like orchestra at some point, right? That has
Oh.
to be like, can you imagine like somebody trying to write for like sitar and like shamisen
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
lyre and like all
Yeah, yeah.
these
Have a
different,
bagpipe in the back somewhere.
yeah, like just like,
Yeah.
I feel like there should be a lot more like willingness of cultures to come together like
Mm,
that, you know, especially like,
yeah.
you know, we were talking about like genres mixing and stuff, especially nowadays with nationalisms being as fraught as they are. I think
Yeah.
we really could stand to do with a lot more, you know, cultural exchanges in that way.
Right, right, exactly. Although I do like warn or sort of like I am wary of one thing is that uh mixing uh the mixing needs to come with uh, hand in hand with respect for the original,
Oh,
I think.
absolutely. Yeah,
And
no,
that's where it can be a little bit challenging.
yeah.
Uh, so and then I think one person who's doing that very well is Jacob Collier, and I think that's one of the person I listed in my list of
Yeah,
favorites.
yeah. I haven't.
In featuring.
I'll admit I haven't listened to too much of his music. It's a little
Ah,
maximalist for my tastes. You know,
maximalist? What do you mean?
like he's very you know, he's very on the gas when it comes to like he does all these chord changes like at a mile a
Uh-huh.
minute. Like he's always reharmonizing his melodies. It's like
Yeah, yeah.
I get, you know, I respect his talent for sure. You know, that shit ain't easy to do, but you
Uh-huh.
know, musically speaking, it's not, you know, it's not my cup of tea.
Oh, got it. So it's interesting because I think I can totally see where you're coming from, but the way I see it is, it feels very free.
Yeah.
And that's why it's to me it's very eye-opening, and I think that's one of the reasons why so many like musicians are such like such fans of this guy,
Yeah.
right? Because like
No,
it breaks the
absolutely.
world. What he
Yeah,
does.
it's totally like the sound of total freedom to have like mastery of music theory to such an extent where you can basically break your song in half, you know? Like, I remember like I think when I was in college seeing that video of him where he was like explaining music theory on like 5 different levels, and at the end he was basically like talking with Herbie Hancock.
Yeah, Herbie Hancock. Oh yeah, I've watched it. Oh, I loved it.
It's
Yeah.
I definitely have a lot of respect for him in that. Like
Yeah.
he's also like a multi instrumentalist too,
Yep.
right? Like he plays
Yep.
guitar, bass, and all that.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's crazy.
But yeah, going back to the thing about like your idea of bringing all these other cultures, he's been doing like collabs with sort
Yeah.
of musicians from different cultures. One of them being like he had like one concert where he did it with some like Indian
Mhm.
musicians, and it
Yeah.
was kind of like that. But the thing that he doesn't like, it's not one where, going back to that metaphor of like a palette, right? Because
Yeah.
if you mix all the colors, you just get this brown, right?
Yeah.
So in that sense, like it's sort of like, yeah, you want to do that mixing with a conscious intent,
Yeah.
and that's
to know
exactly
to know what layer works over which other, like at what time and all that sort of stuff.
right, exactly. As well as, hey, this music, this is where the sitar will really live, and nothing else would replace it. This is where the shamisen, this needs a shamisen, and it's for the shamisen, right? Something like that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
he does that. Like the stuff that's written there, it really like celebrates those other traditions that he's like bringing in. So that's why I really love that. That's what he's doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Excuse me. Let's see here. So, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So have you gone to very many concerts? Rock, jazz, idol, otherwise?
Yeah, not a lot, honestly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the thing is, it's more I'm just not good with crowds and not good with like people in general.
That's fair, honestly.
Yeah, I've been to like a Maroon 5 concert, and like like I remember like
How was that?
yeah, it was something. The thing is like the music I'm sure was great. It's just with so many people, it just I couldn't really enjoy it fully. Like I would have
Yeah.
much more enjoyed it just being
No,
alone in my
just-
room.
I definitely get that, especially a lot more these days. I live in New York City, so
Oh yeah.
I'm surrounded by a lot of people whenever I go out, and you know, I don't. I try not to be total antisocial, misanthrope, and completely shut them out of my life or whatever. But it's like I prefer to stay in whenever I can, you know.
Yeah. Oh, you know exactly what I mean then.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
granted, I do play in my own bands, and I try to go to local shows in the area. It's
right.
it's a very rich scene, even if it's not like even if it's not the way it was like decades ago or whatever.
Well, it's always like changing, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, what was it? 20 years ago, it was like everything was happening in Manhattan. You had like the Strokes and Interpol or whatever, and like
Right.
10 years ago, it was like all in Williamsburg, and then it was like Mac DeMarco and like a bunch of people from like Panache Entertainment or whatever getting it on over there. And now I don't know what the fuck is going on, and hopefully we're gonna try to make something of it.
For sure. Okay, just a really like maybe like open question, right?
Sure, go ahead.
Can you imagine what music would be like in like say 100 years? Or even a
No.
decade, just in a decade, like what do you think music would be like in a decade?
In a decade, Honestly, I have no idea. I feel like we're at such a we're at such a pivotal juncture right now in terms of popular music that it could go any one way. Like
Mhm.
like I was saying, rock music is in the process of a bunch of like synthesis with other genres. Kind of same for R&B.
Mhm.
Any other popular genre. Like even rap is kind of losing its commercial primacy these days. Like it
Uh-huh.
has to sort of like cross over and find other genres to pair with to really be successful. I feel like we're at a moment where we need new genres, honestly, is what we need. We need something. We need something to express itself in a way that we haven't heard before. Because I feel like I don't know. It's really hard. It's really hard to predict the future of music because I feel
For
like
sure.
other than like iterating upon what we currently have, like
Mhm.
there's nothing really that I can see.
For sure. Although, so when you say a new genre, though, right? Because genres, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna come back to you, loving, being, in history, right? Like
Yeah, yeah,
knowing
yeah.
music history. The genre comes as a living aspect of that era's historical context.
Yeah.
So, what if I was to think about what music would be like in say 10, 20, 30 years, the first question would be what would be the kind of genre, what would a genre that reflects that this era and the coming era be like, right?
It's probably going to be aggressive. Probably going to be a lot of harsh feelings towards politics and whatnot. Honestly, I think punk might get like real punk might be in
Mhm.
vogue in the next
Mm.
however
Mhm.
many years. I mean, I hate using like terms like real or fake or whatever, but like there's been a lot of like pop punk revival in the past however many years, emo and
Sure.
all that stuff, and I respect that music. Don't get me wrong, but like I
Uh-huh.
feel like there hasn't been a lot of teeth in terms of like critiquing powers that be or whatever, like like the roots of punk, like going back
Mhm.
to Sex Pistols and Clash
Yeah.
and all that, and then
Mhm.
like even the stuff in California, like the hardcore scene, like the Germs and Black Flag and those guys. I I don't know. Punk's never gonna be like a commercially like it's never gonna be what's commercially popular, granted, but I definitely think that the future of art for the next few years at least, if not more, I think it's going to be indie. I think as the
Mhm.
record industry collapses in around itself and around
Yeah.
streaming, there's going to be a lot more of an incentive for people to seek out their music elsewhere.
Right, right, exactly. And it's a very broad trend of sort of decentralization of like the media, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you think about like the news turning to TikTok basically, right? People getting
Yeah.
their news from TikTok and stuff like that. It's a very broad, and I think that's why I really agree with you that indie, artists exploring different fields is going to really like take off, and I think that's kind of like exciting to think about.
Yeah, I mean, you gotta look for a silver lining somewhere, right? Yeah,
For
no,
sure.
I'm what was I gonna say? Yeah, I'm really hopeful to see like what people do in terms of like away from the major labels. Not to say, of course, that major label artists aren't capable of pumping out anything good, but it's like I don't know. Most of the music that I've been excited about in the past few years, like
Mhm.
King Gizzard and all that, have been
Mhm.
distributed on like independent labels that have
Right.
sort of done their own thing.
Mhm.
Like King Gizzard, they actually they literally built their own record label.
Mhm.
Actually, like
Mm.
back in the really early days, like they had a member who ran like this label called Flightless, and they basically built like this entire record label around like the Australian psychedelic rock scene. It was really
Mhm.
fascinating stuff. And then they kind of carried that on like
Mhm.
in the future, but just under a new name now, like P Doom, I think it's called.
Mhm.
I wish if I had more energy and gumption and a logistics mind, I'd definitely be all for making my own label.
Mm. Yeah, it's like nice to dream about, right? Nice to think about, you know.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just like it requires a lot of capital, a lot of
Sure.
upfront investment, and like
Mhm.
you gotta find a way to like
Mhm.
print your records in a record plant somehow,
Yeah.
which I don't
Mhm.
know. There, though that being said, King Gizzard, they sort of they have this unofficial bootlegging program where they've released a lot of like their demos and live gigs for fans to
Oh.
like press onto their own vinyl or CDs or
Ah.
tapes or whatever to sell under labels.
Mhm.
So like, that's nice getting people to get their foot in the door however they can. Maybe
Right.
maybe in the future I'll sell like a bootleg CD at at the back of a venue somewhere.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
uh,
fun.
yeah.
There's also like Vocaloid producers
Oh,
who start off as Vocaloid producers, but then like get into being like mainstream,
yeah.
artists with like music for animes and stuff.
Yeah,
Right? That's
yeah.
another like avenue. That's really
There's
like
that.
interesting.
And also I've been seeing them work with a lot of VTubers too, like on
Yeah, yeah,
VTuber
yeah.
original songs and all that.
Mhm.
That's been fascinating seeing that sort of Vocaloid to
Mhm.
VTuber pipeline.
God, wait, what's his name? It escapes my mind. There's one guy. He's so big. How could I forget the name? He has he's like green hair, mask with a little twirl thing on it.
It's
Uh,
P. I don't know.
fuck. Anyway, but yeah, like there's like some like really like now they're like big artists like almost like anyone knows even outside
Right.
of like the weeb field, and then it's like, oh, this person used to be a Vocaloid producer, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
wow, and then you see like all these like really like up and coming, or like I say up and coming, but like these like Vocaloid producers today, and you can it's like thinking like, wow, maybe like one day one of these people will be like writing writing the opening for fucking One Piece season 702, like it's
Yeah, exactly.
whatever it is. So it's really like exciting to think about
It's
like where
crazy.
it's gonna go.
You never know what sort of people are gonna rise up from the underground and produce like
Yeah,
the next big pop hit, right?
exactly.
Like fucking Kevin Parker. There's this one guy from the Australian psychedelic rock scene.
Mhm.
He formed this band called Tame Impala, and they sort of got big on their own thing, but from sort of the sound that he was working towards with Tame Impala, he eventually landed on this very psychedelic, electronic heavy,
Mhm.
almost dance music in a sense. And
Yeah.
from there, he was able to springboard that onto a production career with artists like Lady Gaga. I think he worked with Rihanna. I think he's worked
Mhm.
with a few artists like in the pop world. It's
Mhm.
always fascinating seeing that crossover, I think.
Yeah, for sure. It's so exciting. The possibilities are endless.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and anyone listening to this right now, you might be the next like big thing. Who knows? So keep it up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so we're reaching last few questions here.
Oh yeah.
So what inspired you to become a VTuber?
Oh, do I? um, so, I mean, I was watching like a lot of VTuber friends, kind of, and initially, like what I really enjoyed doing was doing more of like a community. Would you call it community outreach? I don't know, but like I'd get to know multiple different like VTubers, and in indie VTubers, like nothing major,
Right.
right? But
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just small indie, doing for fun VTubers, right? And then seeing people who had like similar vibes or like had communities that had similar vibes,
Mm-hmm.
and then like kind of introducing them to each other and helping people grow in that way as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that was something like fun that I used to do.
Nice, nice.
And then at one point, the thing that the thing that got me into being a VTuber was actually out of spite. So
Yeah.
I remember it was Christmas, Valentine's. It was like one of those holiday times when all the VTubers goes crazy and like do other stuff, right?
Right.
And I was like, can I just have like
Padoru.
fucking paddle, dude. Fucking paddle. I'm gonna paddle. It's perfect. No. So I think it was Christmas, yeah. And I was just thinking, like, can I just have like one place where it's not like a fucking shopping mall where I have Christmas music blasted into my face, like one stream where it's just like, hi guys, how's it going? Just like it's just like same as always. We're gonna be doing art and chatting. Like can just have one place that's like that. No, and the answer was no. Everyone's doing something Christmassy. Someone's like they all have their Padoru models or whatever, and then they're playing music like fucking Christmas music on, and it's like I just wanted one normal place that just stays comfy and just like stays as is, throughout
so you
the
became
year.
the Scrooge channel then.
And basically, you know what? That's gonna be me. I'm going to be I fucking if the space isn't going to provide it, I'm gonna be the provider. and I vowed that like I will not like partake in all of those damn festivities. No, it's like no, but like not that much, but like like sort of like that. Like I was like, you know what? It would be nice if I can have a place where it can be like very, consistent and like
Right.
simple. And yeah, that was like what like got me thinking about being, in VTubing.
That's cool.
Yeah. How about you? What got you into being a cat boy?
So I'm part of the generation. Sounds weird saying generation, it was only a few years ago, but like I'm part of the wave from like 2020 2021 that really got into VTubing from like being at home during the pandemic. What was it like? It was like Hololive and Niji Sanji English that like really inspired me to try and pick it up. I'd never done streaming before, so like I used like when the government stimulus rolled out here in the States, I used my check to buy a streaming PC, a microphone, and I set up my own Vroid model and realized I knew next to nothing about streaming. So like I tried writing streaming for a few months, and that was all well and good, and I finished a few games here and there, but I never really got many chatters or anything like that. And by the end of like 2021 when I started, I was feeling like really burnt out. So like then I thought, like, hey, I really do enjoy editing like stream clips whenever I do that. Why not just refocus my channel to do like more long form edited content? And so here I am now, like doing my deep dives, and then every week I try to hold these talk streams, at least some way to keep the light on my channel here, as well as meet other VTubers who love music like me, give them a platform, that sort of thing.
Yeah, oh, that's nice. Oh, but that kind of reminds me like the thing that because you start doing, right, like you start streaming, right?
Yeah.
And then I feel like at some point we all have like moments of like not clarity, but moments of like revelation of it or inspiration of like what we want to do as our thing, right? Did you ever have that kind of like moment for yourself?
That probably came, I want to say, well, the thing is, I used to do review streams, right? Actually, like discography ranking streams, like very early on. Actually, my first stream that wasn't my introduction stream, or actually I think I went gorilla with Minecraft just after my intro, but the first stream that wasn't those two, I covered I ranked the entirety of King Crimson's discography, and that was all well and good. It took me like a few weeks leading up to that to listen to the discography and take notes on that and all that. But by the time, I got to the stream and like delivering all my thoughts and whatnot, I was sort of tripping over myself to make sure I said everything right in the notes and all that.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
my audio wasn't properly bounced. So, you go back and listen to that stream. It's like very, very, very hard to hear me out there.
Mhm.
I don't know, like, I enjoyed doing those streams and like sharing my musical opinions and trying to vary things up from artist to artist. Like I covered what was it, I've covered artists like in that series like King Crimson, Judas Priest, Maria Takeuchi, No
Mhm.
Means No, fucking Sly and the Family Stone. Like I
Uh-huh.
had a lot of variety in there, but it was hard for me to really like express my opinions properly there in the moment off the cuff, right?
Sure.
So I then realized to myself, why not cut out the middleman and just go right for the fucking editing bay,
Mhm.
right? Not leave things up to like a single take live stream.
Mhm. No, I get that.
Yeah, no, it was
Yeah.
it's it was a kind of a natural evolution, I'd say.
Interesting. So for me, there was like a very special moment, I remember, and like at the start, it can be kind of overwhelming, right? Like the whole process, because you have like
Sure,
you
yeah.
have your project or game or whatever you're doing, your
Mm-hmm.
streaming side, chat, right? It's very overwhelming, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I did my best to really take care of chat, and as I said before, like I came in with a community
Mm-hmm.
background, right? Like it was about like like for me, like the community was like the central aspect, right?
Right.
So when I was I think I was doing art or whatever, and then I was like drawing, and then someone came in and say hi. I said like, oh hi, how's your dog doing? Are they feeling better now? Because they had they had gone to the vet before in the last stream, and then they're like, oh yeah, no, she's better now. Oh, you remember?
No.
Thank you, right?
Yeah.
And that moment I was like, oh wait, this is it. Like this is what I need to be, and right? Because like for me, the community is like the primary component of this whole streaming thing. So for
Exactly.
me, that moment was when I thought I'm gonna do everything I can to make sure every person who comes to my chat feels special, right?
Yeah.
So what I started doing was like I'd rewatch my, and this was painful, I'd rewatch my VOD. I'd going through my chat again, and then like just like if there was anything like anything notable, I'd take notes.
Oh
you
yeah.
know and like I'll be like, oh okay, okay, so Atuli graduated, is going to be graduated from medical school, okay, and like stuff like that, and and like, oh okay, this person is going to be doing a collab with this person and like, stuff like that, right? And I'll just like be taking notes and stuff, right? As well as coming into the stream with like, I'd come into the stream with a notepad, not just with those notes, but like topics that would engage people in a way that would let them talk about themselves in this, in a way that would be really engaging. Not really something that like not necessarily something that like I would I want to talk about necessarily, but something that I'm like, oh, this would be like a great thing to like get them to like talk about themselves, right?
Yeah.
So that was the moment I'm like, okay, no, this is, it's all about the community. It's all about the community, and that moment was like, I think, very special for me.
Yeah, no, I definitely
Yeah.
I lean very heavily into community too. That's why I do these music streams week to
Yeah.
week, give an opportunity for my chat to pop in, maybe share what they've been listening to recently. But also, I don't know, I love providing a space for chill music loving people who, just want to learn about something,
For sure, and geek out, right?
So what do you hope to do ultimately? What do you hope your legacy will be as like a musician in the VTuber community?
I kind of want to, maybe, I definitely would not be remembered as a quote-unquote musician, but in the field of music as a vehicle for or an applied field of linguistics.
Right.
So
Interesting.
if anything,
yeah.
I kind of, if I was to be remembered, I want to be remembered as the translator.
Right.
Like not necessarily the singer or the whatever. More as the really thoughtful translator. You know, and that's why like when I give people translations, because that's what some people ask me for translations or to help them write the lyrics, right? Because they did write it in English and write it in Japanese for them, whatever. Every line I would write notes. So I'll be like, okay, so this line I had these author options. I translated it like this to match the meter, but then also to match with the meaning of line 36, so that it matches better. I did also consider this one. If you want this is the line better, let me know. We can switch it out. And like I'd write a paragraph for every line that I translated or like every line that I wrote. You know what I mean?
That's awesome. Getting to like write exactly notes for why you made the decisions that you did.
Exactly.
I love being able to like look back on that and see not just what happened but why, getting that rationale, because then that also informs if you want to make your own decision in the future, like what you might do to do something different.
Right. So that's great for me, but also for me or you as like the provider. But
yeah.
What's more important for me is for the other person to see that, and then first of all, like understand that like I'm taking their work very serious, like the work for them very seriously. But also, if there was anything in the thinking that was not in line, then I they'd be able to see that, right? Because like if they don't know a lot of Japanese. And they're asking me to do a translation, and then I just do the translation as I think is good. Right. It might not necessarily reflect their intentions completely sincerely. So, for example, I'll be like, okay, so this part, I wrote it in this way. It deviates a little bit from the meaning a little bit, but this works much better in terms of the meter. So that's why I went with this. But then if the person might read that being like, okay, wait, but hang on, that line is actually really important. I don't want you to take out that word, because that word is really, really important to me. Can you make it work in another way? So that's why that paragraph of communication is so important for me, so that like I can be more in line with the client or with the person I'm working with their intentions.
Absolutely.
So that's why it's much more important in that sense for me than it is for myself. Yeah, exactly. And maybe if I can be remembered like that, this guy put like his heart and soul into the translation. That'll be a dream.
It's always good to be remembered for your dedication, I think.
Yeah. Sure.
Do you have any dream goals or collabs?
Oh, so like what I asked you.
Yeah.
What I would love to do is, so YOASOBI often releases their Japanese song. And then releases an English version.
Oh.
And the English version, and here's the thing: this English version is coming from the original group, right?
Right.
But it's often suboptimal. I'm just gonna come out and say it's often
off.
suboptimal. It's very off. And there's often like lines where I'm like, this could have been translated this could be done 3 other ways.
I see.
Which would have been better in 3 different ways. I'm really questioning the sincerity of the person doing the translation here, because of that. Because like if it was translated in a way, I keep saying this, I'm so sorry. If it was translated in a way that I didn't agree with, that's fine, as long as I could see the thinking behind it. But sometimes it's like, no, this isn't sincere. You know what I mean? And it's like this person is inserting themselves into YOASOBI's music or something, right? Like that's how it feels like to me. I'm like, who the fuck is this, right? And fuck, it's like, imagine if it's them themselves, right? Like then I feel so bad, but it just often feels like not it. So if I could work with them to help them with their English, versions, or other, language versions, like if their French versions or whatever, then that would be like, that would be a dream.
There you go. YOASOBI, call Rhubarb.
Yeah, I just shat on your English version, so call me. What a great way to sell myself.
Oh yeah.
Oh
What
my
was I gonna
god.
say? Oh yeah, you mentioned during our conference before stream, I mean, you also mentioned during stream that you've
Mhm.
done interviews with VTubers.
Yeah.
How was that experience? Why did you stop?
Oh, it was because it was logistically it was logistically unsustainable. That's the best
Yeah.
way. Yeah. And what I was doing, so what I would do is every interview stream was between 8 to 12 hours long.
Oh
And
wow.
I would what I would do is I would interview maybe 12 to 20 people
Oh wow.
in a row.
So you did like marathon like
In a sense,
interviews, like
but
multiple in a row.
yes, but this was very important to me. Why? Because like what it was I would get, so for example, it would be like maybe one stream would have been artists from the Southeast Asia time zone or whatever.
Oh
Something like that,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I would be, I would have access to people who were partners, people who
Right.
had like 100+ views on average, viewers on
Mhm.
average, and then I'd have other people who are like very like promising but like have just started and have
Yeah,
have
yeah.
no, right. And by doing the interviews consecutively, it made for an opportunity, again comes back to the community, for the communities to kind of
Right.
blend and kind of mingle, right?
Absolutely.
And it was both ways, because like they'd be, and because oftentimes these like quote unquote bigger streamers, they were like very established, they knew what they were doing. So
Yeah, yeah.
the viewers from the smaller or like more like up and coming streamers, their audience would be most often, very often become fans of the quote unquote bigger streamer as well. I hate doing
Right.
this like comparison, because it's like
Yeah,
it's not
yeah,
really
yeah.
you know what I mean, right?
Yeah,
So it
right,
wasn't
right.
like a one way, like, oh, I want to make a platform for the smaller streamers to get a chance. It's not necessarily just that. It's more
Yeah.
about, it's less about the streamers and more about like the communities themselves getting a
Mhm.
chance to like mingle. And
Yeah.
like sometimes it was so cool, because like I would see, like, I would go to one of my ex interviewees streams, right? Be like, hey, and then I'd see a moderator from another streamer, or like
Oh,
someone
yeah.
in their chat, and I'm like, hey, you're the mod for that guy. Oh, hey, nice to see you here, and I just have
That's sweet.
exactly, I had moments like that, and it was so magical.
Mhm.
And obviously, some of the the more up and coming streamers also, on VTubers, often
Mhm.
got like a little bit of a foothold from there as well. Got followers, and that was
Mhm.
great as well. And it was really, really amazing. What made it logistically unsustainable was the amount of research that I needed to do it, because I wasn't
Absolutely, yeah.
so it wasn't just like, okay, I'm gonna call you, hey, are you free this time? All right, let's go, right? That's not it.
Mhm.
I would go through their clips. I would go through their, the history of their socials, their Twitter, Instagram,
So
whatever
you
it
went
is.
in depth. Like you were
Yeah, because
Nardwar levels of research.
Sean Evans of Hot Wings.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he is like my ideal, like he was my North Star. I wanted to be an
Right.
interviewer like him, because
Mhm.
he came with his research done. And the thing is,
Right.
the more you know about a person, the better questions you can ask about them,
Absolutely.
right? And there were also such moments like, he'd ask a question like, so when you were talking to Eminem, and it's like, what was the first thing that was going through? And he's like, how the fuck did you know about that? And then like they'd get really excited, because that's the thing, like, there are some things that people would enjoy talking about, some things that are like interesting but maybe not enjoyable for them to talk about.
Right.
By doing that research, what they would be like hype about. And the thing is, comes back to community. The community wants to see these people be hype and like happy and excited. And sometimes, look, I don't know about Korean dramas, but like seeing this cat girl VTuber go all ham about like this like Korean
Yeah.
K-dramas, and it's like, look, I don't know what the fuck you're saying, but you're having so much fun and I love it for you. I'm gonna follow and I'm gonna check out your streams. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so it's that energy that like I really want to like bring out from them, because like I could just ask them like generic
Yeah.
questions like so what got you into video, but like like
Yeah,
those
yeah,
like
yeah.
personal questions like, so tell me about, okay, so give me your top 3 favorite
Right,
K
yeah.
dramas, right? And then they'll be like, okay, hang on tight because I'm gonna go ham on this, right? And then it's like
Yeah.
I can draw out that energy from them and like show them in the best light possible to give them the best chance to like really engage the people who are there watching. It's like, to me, like it was like amazing, it was beautiful. It takes a lot of research, and it's just like it was just not very logistically, I couldn't just continue it. And also my mods were complaining. It's just like, look, Ruru, like it's great that you're doing this. We just can't keep can't keep up. We can't stay.
Yeah, totally understandable. Would you ever consider
only 12 hours?
Would you ever consider bringing it back in like a shorter, more abridged form if possible?
So I've actually helped. So I'm in a stream team called Team Rice Bowl, Team Vidon.
Oh, nice.
Right, and we did a few like kind of podcast interview streams with like
cool.
team members, and I was helping out with that and stuff. So in a sense, like I kind of like came back a little bit for it. It didn't really continue because of like some complications and all that.
Yeah.
But it'll be really cool. I have considered some. I did have some other ideas that maybe it'll be cool to do, but the thing is, I got 2 cats.
Yeah.
And like the reason why I stopped streaming really was because I wanted to spend more time with my cat.
Yeah.
that was the main reason.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Gotta love the kitties.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, look, I love the community. It's great, but my cats.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And you don't have to answer this. This is sort of half jokey, half serious.
Huh?
How am I doing, interviewer to interview?
Oh, I think you're doing great. One of the difficulties is like keeping calm when the tempo isn't matching.
Yeah.
And I think you have like nerves of steel, and I think like that's something that not everyone can learn.
I've been trying to match my guest's energy. Sometimes it's like sometimes I'll ask something to somebody and they'll give me an answer, but then they'll just sort of stop dead, and like I'm expecting them to continue on, but then it's just like, okay,
exactly.
Cool, got to move on to the next topic.
Yeah, exactly. But then it's like often it's sometimes like not. Sometimes it's actually because the interviewee is also expecting you to ask something as well. So okay, I'm gonna shut up now and I'll let him ask the question, right?
Right, yeah.
It's really, really difficult. So like even if you're like super experienced, like I think we'd always there'd be moments when like we'd lose tempo. But the problem is like, and this is something I experienced as well, like really, really early on, is that when you lose tempo, you can't lose your nerves.
Yeah.
Because that's when everything falls apart. But then
Absolutely.
you have nerves of steel, and I think like that's like something that's like you can't necessarily learn. So I think you're doing really amazing.
Thank you. It's like it reminds me of this adage I always remembered from jazz improv. It's not about like how you mess up; it's about how you recover. Ultimately, it's how you stick the landing that people remember more than the fuck up.
For sure, exactly.
Thanks, RC. If I had the capability, I would.
Imagine it's like, so what do you think about Guns N' Roses? Well, let me tell you about that.
Oh my god. You'll have to wait for my Guns N' Roses opinions, because I can go quite in depth.
Yeah. But see, like, that would be something I would love to like if I was to be the interviewer instead, right? And like I was gonna have you on, like this would be like it'll probably come up immediately in my research, right? And I probably listen to some Guns N' Roses just so I can like at least keep up with someone to talk, right? And that'll be probably one of the first things I'd ask you is like, so tell me about like this about your obsession with Guns N' Roses, and you'll be like, well, let me tell you, and
oh
like,
my god.
out of your
welcome Wee you, lad, and thank you for the Buddy Holly.
Wait, what? What's this? What's with you told me to see my girl?
it's the lyrics to Buddy Holly.
Oh.
Do you listen to much Weezer?
I don't.
Oh, they are. I used to be obsessed with Weezer, like I
Oh
want
yeah.
to say like 10 years ago. Like their first two albums, the Blue album and Pinkerton, they are legitimately great, like 90s alt rock emo records. After
Uh,
that, your mileage may vary. I like, the Green album, I like Maladroit, but like
mm,
the thing with Weezer is that they very quickly shifted to like it feels like they shifted to like commercial like sellout status in like the mid
uh,
2000s after like you know they were very earnest with their earlier music,
mhm.
that sort of thing. And then like around the time that I got super into Weezer, that was like when they released like Everything Will Be Alright in the end, their big sort of return to form album. Like Weezer were back, they were gonna make serious, more emotionally
Mm.
raw music again, and that only lasted for a number of years before they went and covered
Oh,
fucking Africa by Toto.
gotcha. I
uh,
see.
it's the Weezer story is very interesting.
Oh
Crash
yeah.
Thompson's already explored it far better than I have the
Uh-huh.
bandwidth to, but I just like
Yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
What was I gonna say? Yeah, I think our last question here, we're just
Oh,
about done.
sure.
What sort of music do you turn to in times of stress? That's something that I've been wondering recently, as world's been a
Ah,
very stressful place lately.
God, that's a great question. To me, I think it's bossa nova as a
Oh,
genre. Um, and pro-
bossa is great.
yeah, I'm thinking like bossa nova, um, or honestly, like in times of like I would take to silence, actually.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
but
mean
if I was
that
to listen, it'll be bossa nova. Yeah.
that's valid. I really do love bossa nova. Like Antonio Carlos
Yeah.
Jobim, his music is incredible. I
Yeah.
can't say I know by heart too many bossa artists,
Yeah.
but whenever I do hear a bossa, it's
Mhm.
great.
Yeah. There's a Japanese singer called Onolisa, and she does
Oh,
like bossa, and like it's yeah, I love her singing.
that's
It's like
cool.
it's very soothing. Yeah. My
Nice.
Chemical Romance. Is that a something?
MCR. I can't say I'm not that knowledgeable on MCR. I do know a
Yeah.
few of their songs here and there, and I
When I
appreciate
was
them.
a young boy.
Yeah,
Fall.
yeah.
Yeah, I do love them.
Uh, good bands.
Mhm.
But yeah, oh, for bossa, check out Walter Wanderley. Ooh,
Walter
I will
Wander.
write that down.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Walter. When I see Walter, I think like Walter White. Pinkman, we gotta cook.
Jesse.
Yeah, Jesse, you gotta cook. Yeah, yeah.
I
Okay,
haven't
Walter.
even seen Breaking Bad.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah. Where? Yeah. Do you have anything else you want to talk about? If not, I can shout out your channel in the chat.
Yeah, although like I don't really stream it anymore, so most of my work is on Blue Sky, so that's
Oh,
about it.
okay. Let,
Yeah,
let me
yeah,
link your stuff there then.
yeah. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, but yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been like super fun getting to like geek out about music. And these are the sort of stuff that I don't usually get to talk about because like most people don't give a fuck how it's been translated as long as it's
Yeah.
translated and makes sense. So it's like
No,
I
it's
really enjoy
it's
talking about
it's
it.
been really interesting getting to hear your perspective about all that. Yeah, no, thank you, Rhubarb, for coming on the stream. I appreciate appreciate your insight, appreciate your company, and
Yeah.
thank you all in chat for coming in and saying hi and talking with me about music as usual. Not sure quite what all. I'm not sure quite when I'll share updates next on my scripts. Rest assured,
Mhm.
I'm still working hard at it. I'm probably I don't know. I really need to get better about sharing updates on my glam metal deep dive. Y'all are, I mean, not paying customers. You're subscribed to
Mhm.
me. My
Yeah.
Patreons are paying customers, and I
Oh
definitely
yeah,
need
for
to
sure.
update. I do need to update them soon.
Oh
I need
yeah,
to post
yeah,
my
for sure.
give them my blog post or whatever, my monthly blog post that I do.
Mhm.
But yeah, hopefully I should be saying more soon. I've got a book in the mail actually coming about
Ooh.
Guns N' Roses that'll help me with my research. So definitely share my opinions on that with you guys when I'm reading through it. But
Awesome.
anyways, thank you all. Thank you guys so much for coming in to today's stream. Before I do my goodbyes, I should probably try to redirect you guys somewhere. Do we have any raiders? Any viable? I don't know. I think we'll just leave it there.
Yeah.
Thank you guys so much once again for stream. Go check out Rhubarb if you're interested in them. But otherwise, I will see y'all next time. Bye-bye.
Bye bye.